sunshine here in Fort Lauderdale. Hello, replay people. It's me, Jill. I have a very interesting show for you today. Just waiting for my peeps to come on. It's I keep getting up really early and I want to do a show right away, and then I go into the weeds. I start researching stuff. I think I'd like to talk about this, and the next thing I know, I can't stop researching. I'm also working on 3 books at once. My own personal book, Jamie Crow's book, and my little sister and I are writing a book together. A really sweet book about pets and being adopted. Who rescued who? I don't know if that's going to be the title. That's probably the title of a book already. I don't know. We'll come up with something good. Good morning, Gretchen. Hi, Darla. How you guys doing this morning? What's your weather like? We thought Darla was going to be taken away like the Wizard of Oz. Little bit concerning there last night, Darla. Your house is okay? Good morning, Jim Rat. How's everybody doing? It's beautiful. It's always so beautiful after a storm, right? It's pretty nice here too. I'll show you the Fort Lauderdale weather. We have a little bit of our blue in our skies, which is very important to me. The intercoastal, that's just a canal, but you can see a lot of movement in the water, so could be choppy waters out there. Who knows? We're not on the main part of the intercoastal right now. Blazing hot Northern California, according to Jim Rat. Well, it's pretty hot here too in Florida, but it's okay. We expect that. It's Florida. It's raining. Gretchen, I'm glad that you're here. You don't have to go out in the rain. I know, I'm not a big fan of rain. All right, let's see. We only have 5 people on, so what if we sing a song? Anybody has a song they'd like to hear, let me know. I'm gonna look for something I wanna sing. But we're just waiting for the audience. So I'll tell you guys a little bit about my show today. For those of you who are new, maybe don't know anything about me, I am a journalist, and I wrote for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette from 2001 until 2017. And it was in 2017 that I took my abilities as a journalist kind of online, and then I worked for an online news company that I can't talk about because they may be signed a non-disclosure. So, hey, I'm a journalist. I know when to shut my mouth, whatever. A lot of my fans who have known me since 2015, when I first started really being online, because I was never online before. I was a journalist. I thought, I don't want to go on Facebook. I don't want to give away my work. You know, I work very hard and I should be paid. Hey, Donna, what's with the big eyes? You know where I am. But yeah, I was not a fan of the social media, because to me that's given away my talents. But then I wrote my book like it was yesterday, A Journalist's File Since, oh, you were at the wrong line. A Journalist's File Since 9/11. And I got a book coach to try to become an author. Well, not try, I became an author, but, you know, wanted to sell books. And so I got a coach, hi Holly, and he said, you have to be on social media. I didn't like it. I actually already had a Facebook account, but nobody I knew that I was on Facebook because I hid it. But I was Facebook friends with my biological family, so they were the only ones I was in contact with, and my bio mom's cat. Yes, one of my Facebook fans was a cat, or Facebook friends was a cat. So I bit the bullet and told everybody on Facebook. I'm on Facebook and started my Facebook page, which was called jillbooks.com. Yes, we had so much fun last night. I love taking you guys out. Tonight will be even more fun because, of course, it's the weekly Monday night jazz jam. So stay tuned for that. You guys will love it if you love jazz. And jazz is an acquired taste. I did not always love jazz until I grew up. My dad loved jazz, so of course I didn't like it for a long time because if my parents liked it, I didn't want to like it. Oh, that's not true. My dad actually is the reason why I'm a Pink Floyd fan. He's the reason why I love Emerson, Lake and Palmer. He's the reason why I love that kind of rock, that techno rock. I was raised on it. Dark Side of the Moon was probably one of the first albums that I ever got to like really love as far as rock and roll. Hi Betty, hi Dawn, good morning. Hi Wolfgang, welcome. I'm glad that you're here, that you're new. So for people who are new to the Beach Report, just to let you know that I have an amazing members group. They are all moderators on my show. So please be very respectful to me and my people here. Hi Mopar. Jim Rat was in Florida for 10 days on vacation. You flew back from Fort Lauderdale last week. Beautiful state. Keys were great. We really enjoyed Melbourne the most. Strange weather. Yes, well, it's our rainy season, so it's acting normal, actually, for Florida. So Darla's dad is why she likes 60s music. I like 60s music, too, because of my parents. And my mom, she always had a really good taste in music. And she loves, of course, the love songs. And she's the reason why I love Barry Manilow. Oh, thank you so much. I love that. Thank you. I really appreciate when you guys support the Beach Report. So we've got some more people on. We've got some new people on. The weather is normal for Fort Lauderdale in the summertime. It's, yes, regards to the family. We are the Beach Report family, Sang knows this. Andrea Butterfly is here. Yes, 60s and 70s. I love 80s music. I really do. Hi, Corey, back from Florida. Favorite cuisine down there is barbecue stork ankles. Corey, I've never heard of that. Is that a real thing? You gotta be joking. Although I did hear something very disturbing today, that there have been more than 30 confirmed cases of leprosy in West Palm Beach alone. So I don't know what's up with that, but yes, the 80s music is awesome. It's the music of our generation, Darla, so there's that. Yeah, I was thinking of singing something. What are we gonna sing? Well, I do kind of feel like this song is very apropos. And the apropos thing is for the Beach Report, because today I do want to talk about what the world needs. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing that there's just too little of. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. No, not just for some, but for everyone. Lord, we don't need another kitty cat. There are mountains and hillsides enough to climb. There are oceans and rivers enough to cross, enough to last till the end of time. I don't like to leave Florida saying I'm very happy here. What the world, but thanks, needs now is love, sweet love. My daughter was just there. It's the only thing that there's just too little of. What the world needs now, hi Holly, is love, sweet love. No, not just for some, but for everyone. Sophie's, Lord, we don't need another meadow. There are cornfields and wheat fields enough to grow. There are sunbeams and moonbeams enough to shine. You, oh, listen, Lord, if you want to know. Thank you, Betty. If you want to know what the world needs now is love, sweet love. Thank you all. You guys are great this morning. It's the only thing that there's just too little of what the world needs now. Thank you, Andrea. Is love, sweet love. No, not just for some. Oh, but just for everyone. I do really believe the world needs more love. So I got a little bee in my bonnet this morning, thinking about how they are trying to reopen old wounds with the whole COVID thing and the Fauci um, hearings. And again, it is the boosted versus the unvaccinated. I was saying vaccinated against unvaccinated, but then I realized that there's so many people who got the vaccine under duress and didn't really want it and actually were quite against it, but if they didn't get it, they lost their jobs or they couldn't attend an important family function like a kid's wedding or just a variety of coercive and nasty reasons to force people into making a medical decision that wouldn't necessarily benefit them. Andrea says, love is the word God spoke to me. Hi, Luna. So I'm a journalist, and if you see on my thumbnail today, I've included an article that I wrote in 2017. It's one of the last articles that I wrote for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette before striking out on my own as an author, an editor, and a publisher. Now, I became a publisher for myself in 2015, but now I have published books for two different people, so I am a boutique publisher. Shalom, Luna. I'm glad you're here. Yeah, a little bit of everything. Let Gretchen tell you. Gretchen's probably one of the best to tell people what the Beach Report is all about. We don't really have to worry about what happens to people if they're going to prison or not. What we have to worry about is that they are exposed and that it becomes untenable to do anything like this again, ever, to the American people or anybody else. See, Don was another one, forced to get the shot or lose his job. I'm so sorry that happened to you. However, it's the people who continue to take the shot, who want the boosters, who look at Dr. Fauci as a savior. And there are a lot of people who think this way. I know, it's really hard to believe, but it's true. So I'm going to put show you. This was my idea for today, is to write about. So this is a portion of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette from an article that I wrote in 2017 about George Orwell and his son. It was a really interesting article, and it was actually the reason that I have always wanted to write a book about the children of famous writers. I'd like to write a book about my own children. No, I'm joking. Well, I hope to be in the realm of the George Orwell famous writers group, and I may never be. I mean, I'm just a lowly newspaper journalist. However, yes, willingly take boosters, Luna. Continue to take boosters. Exposing the left is breaking them. That's right, Bob. However, I don't want to break the people. Yes, the companies, those who have a grip on us, those who would like to change our history. George Orwell, I called this show, sorry, somebody tried to call me. Okay, so this show is called When Life Imitates Art, but what really is happening right now is I think the art is predictive. Somehow George Orwell could see into the future because some of the things that he wrote about, and not just him, but other writers like Ray Bradbury, who wrote Fahrenheit 451. We would have executed Fauci back in the day. That's not true, adventurers, because Fauci was one of the ones who started the AIDS epidemic. Started it. Well, was let's just say that he was a crucial cog in the wheel of the AIDS epidemic and AIDS vaccines, AIDS medications, which the NIH tested on children with AIDS, and most of them died. And they were orphans. Hi, Phil Goodyear. Good to see you in Northern California. So no, Fauci got away with it back in the 80s. And when he reemerged during COVID, people who remembered who he was back in the 80s, and he was not a famous man back then. In fact, I don't think he wanted anyone to know who he was back then. But then when he reemerged, the people who knew, they said something. So I wanted to talk about this article that I wrote in 2017. I'm so glad you're here, Luna. Go back to work. You can watch the replay and come back and watch it later and watch my shows there. I am on every single day. I show up for my followers every day, and I never leave you over the more than the past 10 years. Dr. Fauci's MO is consistent. AIDS came from monkeys and COVID came from bats. Very, very good point. Yes, we know who you meant, Papa Bear. Yeah. So we're glad to have you, Luna. We're glad you're here. Like Gretchen just said, today is a chat day. But Jill takes us everywhere. Sunsets on the beach, live music, walks through the Everglades. She's amazing. So welcome. Thank you, Gretchen. I love when you do that. You are the best. Smokey, the Adventures of Smokey and the Bandit. They would have put him in front of a firing squad in the old days. Yeah, the really old days. In the 80s, we began the apathy years. The years when we decided that we would just focus on ourselves and not really worry about the fact that huge corporations were slowly gaining power. Farms were being bought up by companies like Monsanto. Our food was being ultra processed. People were gaining weight because of it. Papa Bear. By the way, I really, really, really loved your Fort Lauderdale guide video. I've lived here almost 4 years, and I've never really experienced it until you showed me. I love that! That makes me so happy. You guys are constantly, you pump me up. You make me know why I do the Beach Report, and it is because of you. Yeah. Yes, time to bring back old times. You're so right. And this is what I'm trying super hard to do. I feel like it is now my mission to unite people. I am sick of this families against families, kids looking at their parents like they're idiots. That's how they were taught by the television. The television told our kids that we are idiots. And COVID cemented it. Those of us who shunned the vaccines, those of us who have had decades of watching big government, big pharma, big companies from China literally destroy our culture, our way of life. Well, our kids don't understand this. Thank you. I'm glad you're here. Adventures of Smokey and the Bandit. Reunited and it feels so good. Reunited 'cause we understood. There's one perfect thing, and sugar, this one is it. We both are so excited 'cause we're reunited. Hey, hey, hey. Yes, yes, exactly. So that was from the great Peaches and Herb of the 80s. And actually, they played at my high school in Pittsburgh, Peaches and Herb. Can you imagine that? Want to hear something even crazier that came out of my high school, North Allegheny Senior High School? Christina Aguilera. Yes, she went there too. Long after I did, but she went there. And Smokey and the Bandit is so in the right place because I like to make people smile, so we'd be smiling all along. um, come on, come on. Wait, that seems like a song. I don't know. There's a song playing in my head. You make cute videos of kittens. I make videos of puppies. I don't. I don't have so many kitties in my life anymore, but there was a time when I became, by accident, crazy cat mom to a few dozen cats. It was crazy living on a farm and all of that stuff. That's right. You don't have to be MAGA. You just have to love America. Yes, Gretchen. Gretchen tells everyone a word or a phrase could cause Jill to break into song. Ooh, Connie, wait. Always reminds me of God. And I feel like I know it's about a person, but to me it's about the Lord. I just broke my favorite coffee cup that says love on it. Oh, no. Oh, Smokey, what you gonna do? Well, thank you, Dane. We're all beautiful to the Lord. He loves us so very much. He sent us his only son. So this song was is sung by Jerry Rafferty, and it always makes me feel like I'm in the presence of God, and I love to sing this song and think about God, because for me it's about God, not a person. Get kicked off for lust, okay? I am a widow. All right, that's how it starts, but I'm gonna turn the music off and sing it Acapulco. Yes, your mug loved you so much it wanted you to get a new one. That's a good one, Papa Bear. Hi, Patricia. You know I need your love. You got that hold over me. As long as I've got your love, you know that I'll never leave. When I wanted you to share my life, I had no doubt in my mind. And it's been you, Jesus, right down the line. It's my song for Jesus. I know how much I lean on you, only you can see. The changes that I've been through have left a mark on me. You've been as constant as a northern star, the brightest light that shines. And it's been you, Jesus, right down the line. Same Patricia, we are God's miracle. I just want to say this is my way of telling you every day I've never said before. Yeah, this is my way of telling you that every day I'm loving you so much more. 'Cause you believed in me through my darkest night. Put something better inside of me. You brought me into the light. I threw away all those crazy dreams. I left them all behind. And it was you, Jesus, right down the line. That's what I sing when I sing that song. It's Jesus down the line. Oh, glad you're here, Jamie. I just saw you. You need prayers. Oh, everything's happening at once. Well, we have all of our prayer warriors here, so I got my Bible right in front of me. Let's see what messages God has for us this morning. So my eyes are drawn to 1 Samuel 29. Now what have I done, said David. Can't I even speak? He then turned away to someone else and brought up the same matter, and the men answered him as before. What David said was overheard and reported to Saul, and Saul sent for him. And I'm just pulled this out, so I don't know what this is about to say. Good things. It's too much. I'm in tears. Oh my gosh. Oh, Jethro Tull. I don't know that one, Hawkeye, but maybe I do. I'm not really sure. David said to Saul, let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant will go and fight him. Saul replied, you are not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him. You are only a boy, and he has been a fighting man from his youth. But David said to Saul, your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair, struck it, and killed it. Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. The uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them because he has defied the armies of the living God. The Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine. Saul said to David, go and the Lord be with you. Then Saul dressed David in his own tunic. He put a coat of armor on him and a bronze helmet on his head. David fastened on his sword over the tunic and tried walking around because he was not used to them. I cannot go in these, he said to Saul, because I'm not used to them. So he took them off. Then he took his staff in his hand, chose 5 smooth stones from the stream, put them in the pouch of the shepherd's bag, and with the sling in his hand approached the Philistine. Meanwhile, the Philistine, with his shield bearer in front of him, kept coming closer to David. He looked David over and saw that he was only a boy, ruddy and handsome, and he despised him. He said to David, am I a dog that you come at me with sticks? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. Come here, he said, and I'll give your flesh to the birds of the air and the beasts of the field. Wow, you know what this story is about that I just hit on? Wow. David said to the Philistine, you come against me with a sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will hand you over to me, and I'll strike you down and cut off your head. Today I will give the carcasses of the Philistine army to the birds of the air and the beasts of the earth, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. All those gathered here will know that it is not by sword or spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give all of you our hands. As the Philistine moved closer to attack him, David ran quickly toward the battle line to meet him. Reaching into his bag and taking out a stone, he slung it and struck the Philistine on the forehead. The stone sank into his forehead and he fell face down on the ground. This is one of the most pivotal parts of the Bible, and the Lord just led me here because of you, Jamie. This right here is the proof that your faith in God can get you through absolutely anything. And there are no monsters, nobody bigger and stronger than your God. And you always have his protection. That's what this is about. This is David versus Goliath. It's David versus the Philistine, but we know the Philistine's name. I'll keep reading. This is so exciting. So David triumphed over the Philistine with a sling and a stone. Without a sword in his hand, he struck down the Philistine and he killed him. David ran and stood over him. He took hold of the Philistine's sword and drew it from the scabbard. After he killed him, he cut off his head with the sword. When the Philistines saw that their hero was dead, they turned and ran. Then the men of Israel and Judah surged forward with a shout and pursued the Philistines to the entrance of Gath, and to the gates of Ekron. Their dead were strewn along the Sharaim road to Gath and Ekron. When the Israelites returned from chasing the Philistines, they plundered their camp. David took the Philistines' head and brought it to Jerusalem, and he put the Philistines' weapons in his own tent. What do we need to find Kristen Stewart for? She's just an actress. Nobody cares. As Saul watched David going out to meet the Philistine, he said to Abner, commander of the army, "Abner, whose son is that young man?" Abner replied, "As surely as you live, O king, I don't know." The king said, "Find out whose son this young man is." As soon as David returned from killing the Philistine, Abner took him and brought him before Saul with David still holding the Philistine's head. "Whose son are you, young man?" Saul asked him. David said, "I am the son of your servant Jesse of Bethlehem." Jesse, Jesus, I'm confused. Okay, I have a great bunch of people around me. The family's just growing by leaps and bounds, faster than I could ever imagine. Jamie's talking about her weekend with the America First crew and more, right? All right, Gretchen. Gretchen, be busy. Sorry, that came out. Yes, this is live. Please don't try to meet Kristen Stewart, okay? She's just an actress. There is no reason for you to stalk her, so don't do it, please. Please. I am not a fan of stalkers. She has her own life, just as I have my own life, but I share it with you on the Beach Report. So there's no reason to stalk me either, and good luck even trying, because you never know where I'm going to turn up next. Yeah, wake him up, Ashley. He's going to be busy soon for you. As my daughter calls her husband, when my daughter's husband comes home from work, she says to the baby, "Look, it's the diaper man." I love that. So yes, you're going to have to turn your husband into the diaper man. I don't know, there's two of them. Papa Bear says, "I'm the best stalker there is. If a blind person can stalk you, then you're doing it wrong." Oh, Papa Bear, you're so awesome. Yes, we don't tolerate stalkers on the Beach Report because, hey, girlfriend here has been stalked more times than you can even imagine. And you can't scare me with your stalking either. So, yeah, the Kristen Stewart stalker needs to stop and just don't do that. Jesus Christ is the only way to heaven. Yes. Good morning, Saint Dog. Yeah, please stop stalking people. Nobody wants that, okay? Just live your own dang life, right? Okay, so one thing that I wanted to do today also, in addition to reading the Bible, which was, wow, what a section I picked. Poor Celestica is jealous of women. Do you dress like one? Okay, I have very important news. One of the reasons that I wanted to talk about 1984, Jamie is not afraid of stalkers. That's right. We're not afraid of anyone. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. That's right, Ruben. We agree. Yeah. Whatever, Celestica. You just keep on being jealous. See where that gets you, right? Talk to Ashley here. She's pregnant with twins. There's no man on earth who could handle that one. I guarantee you. Am I right, Ashley? Am I right? It's so interesting to me. People, jealousy rules their lives. So, okay, well, right now, I'd like to talk to you about something that is absolutely chilling me to the bone. And this is the fact that our National Archives, you know, where everybody's information is, including the Constitution. Um, wait a minute. Every important paper in our government, actual people's records of people immigrating to the United States. All of this information is about to be destroyed, as they are planning on closing the National Archives throughout the country. This is a national effort. They're saying it's to save money, but I think it's going to cost a lot of money to actually go through everything in the National Archive, let AI read it, and then they will destroy it. Oh, Papa Bear, you guys are fighting a communist governor. Somebody running for governor who's a communist. Great. I have a lot of faith in God too, but I also know that He has me doing the beach report for a reason. So I'm here doing my part as a good and faithful servant. So the archivists of the United States oversee the National Archives budget. They have building leases, long-term strategic planning, and they formally initiate the closures, the relocations, and the consolidations. The closures of federal archive buildings across the United States are driven by a federal mandate: electronic records only. Multiple administrations are responsible for this, including Obama, Trump, and Biden. They supported a government-wide transition to fully electronic records. Ooh, you are at that's the halfway point. Are you at the halfway point? Tuesday? Because 5 months is over the halfway point. You're in the second trimester, am I right? I'm not good with math, so help me out. Anyway, congratulations, Ashley. I'm going to focus on this, though, because this is very important that we know what they're doing. There's a key directive. The Office of Management and Budget made a National Archives and Records Administration memorandum. They issued it jointly. It requires federal agencies to stop sending paper records and move entirely to digital systems. Because of this mandate, the National Archives says it no longer needs large regional buildings to store paper. This is the official justification for closing buildings throughout the country. The archives funding comes from Congress, and Congress is reducing or limiting funding to the archives. And this is how they do it. They close buildings, they consolidate operations, they reduce staff, and they cut physical storage costs. The General Services Administration handles the building leases. When they raise costs or end a lease, the National Archives often chooses to vacate the building rather than renew. So these closures are being touted as bureaucratic and not partisan, but this is going to have major consequences for transparency. We will not have access to certain records. Regional histories will be centralized or even lost altogether. The AI reading all of these archives may not get it right because AI is certainly prone to making mistakes, and the digitization will not be complete. We're looking for the truth here. Oversight becomes harder. Public access is limited. And accountability out the window. Closures reduce the public's ability to see the paper trail. Without paper, there's no paper trail. And that's what keeps government honest. This really affects us. And for this reason, I want to read to you an excerpt from the book 1984, which was published in 1949, written by George Orwell. And I'm just going to go on. I'm sorry, I'm not really paying attention to your chat right now because I'm kind of hell-bent on this topic. I'm going to read you part 1 of chapter 5. Just listen to me, sit back, this little story time for you. Just the man I was looking for, said a voice at Winston's back. He turned around. It was his friend Simey, who worked at the research department. Perhaps friend was not exactly the right word. You did not have friends nowadays, you had comrades. But there were some comrades whose society was pleasanter than that of others. Simey was a philologist, a specialist in newspeak. Indeed, he was one of the enormous team of experts now engaged in compiling the 11th edition of the Newspeak Dictionary. How's the dictionary getting on? Said Winston, raising his voice to overcome the noise. Slowly, said Simey. I'm on the adjectives. It's fascinating. The 11th edition is the definitive edition, he said. We're getting the language into its final shape. The shape it's going to have when nobody speaks anything else. When we've finished with it, people like you will have to learn it all over again. You think, I dare say, that our chief job is inventing new words. But not a bit of it. We're destroying words, scores of them, hundreds of them, every day. We're cutting the language down to the bone. The 11th edition won't contain a single word that will become obsolete before the year 2050. It's a beautiful thing, the destruction of words. Of course, the great wastage is in the verbs and adjectives, but there are hundreds of nouns that can be got rid of as well. It isn't only synonyms, there are also the antonyms. Thank you, Papa Bear. After all, what justification is there for a word which is simply the opposite of some other word? A word contains its opposite in itself. Take good, for instance. If you have a word like good, what need is there for a word like bad? Ungood will do just as well, even better, because it's an exact opposite, which the other is not. Or again, if you want a stronger version of good, what sense is there in having a whole string of vague, useless words like excellent and splendid and all the rest of them? Plus good covers the meaning, or double plus good, if you want something stronger still. Of course, we use these forms already, but the final version of Newspeak, there will be nothing else. In the end, the whole notion of goodness and badness will be covered by only 6 words. In reality, only 1 word. Don't you see the beauty of that, Winston? It was Beebe's idea originally, of course, he added as an afterthought. A sort of vague eagerness flitted across Winston's face at the mention of Big Brother, Beebe. Nevertheless, Simey immediately detected a certain lack of enthusiasm. You haven't a real appreciation of Newspeak, Winston, he said almost sadly. Even when you write it, you're still thinking in Old Speak. I've read some of the pieces that you write in the Times occasionally. They're good enough, but they're translations. In your ear, you'd prefer to stick to Old Speak, with all its vagueness and its useless shades of meaning. You don't grasp the beauty of the destruction of words. Do you know that Newspeak is the only language in the world whose vocabulary gets smaller every year? Winston did know that, of course. He smiled sympathetically, he hoped, not trusting himself to speak. Sime bit off another fragment of dark-colored bread, chewed it briefly, and went on. Don't you see that the whole aim of Newspeak is to narrow the range of thought? In the end, we shall make thought crime literally impossible, because there will be no words in which to express it. Every concept that can ever be needed will be expressed in exactly one word, with its meaning rigidly defined and all its subsidiary meanings rubbed out and forgotten. Already in the 11th edition, we're not far from that point, but the process will start continuing long after you and I are dead. Every year, fewer and fewer words, and the range of consciousness always a little smaller. Even now, of course, there's no reason or excuse for committing thought crime. It's merely a question of self-discipline, reality control. But in the end, there won't be any need even for that. The revolution will be complete when the language is perfect. Newspeak is ingsoc. That's a Newspeak word meaning English socialism, the party's political creed, NDR. And ingsoc is Newspeak, he added with a sort of mystical satisfaction. Has it ever occurred to you, Winston, that by the year 2050, at the very latest, not a single human being will be alive who could understand such a conversation as we are having now? By 2050, earlier probably, all real knowledge of Old Speak will have disappeared. The whole literature of the past will have been destroyed. Chaucer, Shakespeare, Milton, Byron, they'll exist only in Newspeak versions. Not merely changed into something different, but actually changed into something contradictory of what they used to be. Even the literature of the party will change. Even the slogans will change. How could you have a slogan like freedom is slavery when the concept of freedom has been abolished? The whole climate of thought will be different. In fact, there will be no thought as we understand it now. Orthodoxy means not a thing, not needing to think. Orthodoxy is unconsciousness. One of these days, thought Winston with sudden, deep conviction, Sime will be vaporized. He is too intelligent. He sees too clearly, speaks too plainly. The party does not like such people. One day he will disappear. It is written on his face. Hey, chicken. Yeah. What do you think about that? Would you like to live in a world where the objective is that people like us, the regular people, should be dumbed down? Do you not see it happening in front of your very eyes? Is that better? Can you guys see my, is it working? Chicken Tonight Chihuahua says 1984 is a book of prophecy at this point. Yes, it certainly is. Only instead of using people, like in the book 1984, we're using artificial intelligence, which is artificial and not very intelligent. Yeah. Yes, we can read some Animal Farm too. Another one by George Orwell. Animal Farm, a fairy story by George Orwell. Mr. Jones of the Manor Farm had locked the hen houses for the night, but was too drunk to remember to shut the pop-holes. With the ring of light from his lantern dancing from side to side, he lurched across the yard, kicked off his boots at the back door, drew himself a last glass of beer from the barrel in the scullery, and made his way up to bed, where Mrs. Jones was already snoring. As soon as the light in the bedroom went out, there was a stirring and a fluttering all through the farm buildings. Word had gone round during the day that old Major, the prize middle white boar, had had a strange dream on the previous night and wished to communicate it to the other animals. It had been agreed that they should all meet in the big barn as soon as Mr. Jones was safely out of the way. Old Major, so he was always called, though the name under which he had been exhibited was Willingdon Beauty, was so highly regarded on the farm that everyone was quite ready to lose an hour's sleep in order to hear what he had to say. At one end of the big barn, on a sort of raised platform, Major was already ensconced on his bed of straw, under a lantern which hung from a beam. He was 12 years old and had lately grown rather stout, but he was still a majestic-looking pig, with a wise and benevolent appearance, in spite of the fact that his tushes had never been cut. Before long, the other animals began to arrive and make themselves comfortable after their different fashions. First came the 3 dogs, Bluebell, Jessie, and Pincher, and then the pigs, who settled down in the straw immediately in front of the platform. Yeah, if I were the devil's another good one, Connie. The hens perched themselves on the windowsills, the pigeons fluttered up to the rafters, and the sheep and cows lay down behind the pigs and began to chew the cud. The 2 cart horses, Boxer and Clover, came in together, walking very slowly and settling down their vast hairy hoofs with great care lest there should be some small animal concealed in the straw. Clover was a stout, motherly mare approaching middle life who had never quite got her figure back after her 4th foal. Boxer was an enormous beast, nearly 18 hands high and as strong as any 2 ordinary horses put together. A white stripe down his nose gave him a somewhat stupid appearance, and in fact he was not of first-rate intelligence, but he was universally respected for his steadiness of character and tremendous powers of work. After the horses came Muriel, the white goat, and Benjamin, the donkey. Benjamin was the oldest on the farm and the worst-tempered. He seldom talked, and when he did, it was usually to make some cynical remark. For instance, he would say that God had given him a tail to keep the flies off, but he would sooner have had no tail and no flies. Alone among the animals on the farm, he never laughed. If asked why, he would say that he saw nothing to laugh at. Nevertheless, without openly admitting it, he was devoted to Boxer. The 2 of them usually spent their Sundays together in the small paddock beyond the orchard, grazing side by side and never speaking. The 2 horses had just lain down when a brood of ducklings, which had lost their mother, filed into the barn, cheeping feebly and wandering from side to side to find some place where they would not be trodden on. Clover made a sort of wall round them with her great foreleg, and the ducklings nestled down inside it and promptly fell asleep. At the last moment, Molly, the foolish, pretty white mare who drew Mr. Jones's trap, came mincing daintily in, chewing a lump of sugar. She took a place near the front and began flirting her white mane, hoping to draw attention to the red ribbons it was plaited with. Last of all came the cat, who looked around as usual for the warmest place and finally squeezed herself in between Boxer and Clover. There she purred contentedly throughout Major's speech without listening to a word of what he was saying. All the animals were now present except Moses, the tame raven, who slept on a perch behind the back door. When Major saw that they had all made themselves comfortable and were waiting attentively, he cleared his throat and began. Comrades, you have heard already about the strange dream that I had last night, but I will come to the dream later. I have something else to say first. I do not think, comrades, that I shall be with you for many months longer. And before I die, I feel it my duty to pass on to you such wisdom as I have acquired. I have had a long life, I have had much time for thought as I lay alone in my stall, and I think I may say that I understand the nature of life on this earth as well as any animal now living. It is all about this, and I wish to speak to you. Now, comrades, what is the nature of this life of ours? Let's face it. Our lives are miserable, laborious, and short. We are born, we are given just so much food, and we'll keep the breath in in our bodies, and those of us who are capable of it are forced to work to the last atom of our strength. And the very instant that our usefulness has come to an end, we are slaughtered with hideous cruelty. No animal in England knows the meaning of happiness or leisure after he is a year old. No animal in England is free. The life of an animal is misery and slavery. That is the plain truth. Backwards walking. Good job. But is this simply part of the order of nature? Is it because this land of ours is so poor that it cannot afford a decent life to those who dwell upon it? No, comrades, 1,000 times no. The soil of England is fertile, its climate is good, it is capable of affording food in abundance to an enormously greater number of animals than now inhabit it. The single farm of ours would support a dozen horses, 20 cows, hundreds of sheep, and all of them living in comfort and a dignity that are now almost beyond our imagining. Why do we continue in this miserable condition? Because nearly the whole of the produce of our labor is stolen from us by human beings. There, comrades, is the answer to all of our problems. It is summed up in a single word: man. Man is the only real enemy we have. Remove man from the scene, and the root cause of hunger and overwork is abolished forever. Man is the only creature that consumes without producing. He does not give milk. I did. He does not lay eggs. He is too weak to pull the plow. He cannot run fast enough to catch rabbits. Yet he is Lord of all the animals. He sets them to work. He gives back to them the bare minimum that will prevent them from starving, and the rest he keeps for himself. Our labor tills the soil, our dung fertilizes it, and yet there is not one of us that owns more than his bare skin. You cows that I see before me, how many thousands of gallons of milk have you given during the last year? And what has happened to that milk, which should have been breeding up sturdy calves? Every drop of it has gone down the throats of our enemies. And you hens, how many eggs have you laid in the last year? And how many of those eggs ever hatched into chickens? The rest have all gone to market to bring in money for Jones and his men. And you, Clover, what are those 4 foals you bore, who should have been the support and pleasure of your old age? Each was sold at a year old. You will never see one of them again. In return for your 4 confinements and all your labor in the fields, what have you ever had except your bare rations and a stall? And even in the miserable lives we lead are not allowed to reach their natural span. For myself, I do not grumble, for I am one of the lucky ones. I am 12 years old and have had over 400 children. Such is the life of a pig. But no animal escapes the cruel knife in the end. You young porkers who are sitting in front of me, every one of you will scream your lives out at the block within a year. To that horror we must all come. Cows, pigs, hens, sheep, everyone. Even the horses and the dogs have no better fate. You boxer, the very day that those great muscles of yours lose their power, Jones will sell you to the knacker, who will cut your throat and boil you down for the foxhounds. As for the dogs, when they grow old and toothless, Jones ties a brook around their necks and drowns them in the nearest pond. It is not crystal clear then, comrades, that all the evils of this life of ours spring from the tyranny of human beings. Only get rid of man, and the produce of our labor would be our own. Almost overnight we could become rich and free. What then must we do? Why, work night and day, body and soul, for the overthrow of the human race. That is my message to you, comrades. Rebellion. I do not know when that rebellion will come. It might be in a week or in 100 years, but I know, as surely as I see this straw beneath my feet, that sooner or later justice will be done. Fix your eyes on that, comrades, throughout the short remainder of your lives. And above all, pass on this message of mine to those who come after you, so that future generations shall carry on the struggle of its victorious. And remember, comrades, your resolution must never falter. No argument must lead you astray. Never listen when they tell you that man and the animals have a common interest, that the prosperity of the one is the prosperity of the others. It is all lies. Man serves the interests of no creature except himself. And among us animals, let there be perfect unity, perfect comradeship in the struggle. All men are enemies, all animals are comrades. At this moment there was a tremendous uproar. While Major was speaking, 4 large rats had crept out of their holes and were sitting on their hindquarters, listening to him. The dogs suddenly caught sight of them, and it was only a swift dash for their holes that the rats saved their lives. Major raised his trotter for silence. "Comrades," he said, "here is a point that must be settled. The wild creatures such as rabbits and rats, are they our friends or our enemies? Let us put it to vote. I propose this question to the meeting. Are rats comrades?" The vote was taken at once, and it was agreed by an overwhelming majority that rats were comrades. There were only 4 dissensions, the 3 dogs and the cat, who afterwards discovered to have voted on both sides. Major continued, "I have a little more to say. I merely repeat, remember always your duty of enmity towards man and all his ways. Whatever goes upon 2 legs is an enemy. Whatever goes upon 4 legs or has wings is a friend. And remember also that fighting against man, we must not come to resemble him. Even when you have conquered him, do not adopt his vices. No animal must ever live in a house or sleep in a bed or wear clothes or drink alcohol or smoke tobacco or touch money or engage in trade. All the habits of men are evil. And above all, no animal must ever tyrannize over his own kind. Weak or strong, clever or simple, we are all brothers. No animal must ever kill any other animal. All animals are equal." I had to reboot. And now, comrades, I'll tell you about my dream of last night. I cannot describe the dream to you. It was a dream of the earth, as it will be when man has vanished. But it reminded me of something I'd long forgotten. Many years ago, when I was a little pig, my mother and the other sows used to sing an old song of which they knew only the tune and the first 3 words. I had known that tune in my infancy, but it had long since passed out of my mind. Last night, however, it came back to me in my dream, and what is more, the words of the song also came back. Words, I am certain, which were sung by the animals of long ago and have been lost to memory for generations. I will sing you that song now, comrades. I am old and my voice is hoarse, but when I have taught you the tune, you can sing it better for yourselves. It is called Beasts of England. Old Major cleared his throat and began to sing. As he had said, his voice was hoarse, but he sang well enough, and it was a stirring tune, something between Clementine and La Cucaracha. The words ran. I'm going to try this. "O beasts of England, O beasts of England, beasts of every land and clime, heartbroken to my joyful tidings of the golden future time. Sooner or later the day is coming, tyrant man shall be overthrown, and the fruitful fields of England shall be trod by beasts alone. Rings shall vanish from our noses, and the harness from our back. Bit and spur shall rust forever, cruel whips no more shall crack. Riches more than mine can picture, wheat and barley, oats and hay, clover, beans, and mango wurtels shall be ours upon that day. Bright will shine the fields of England, purer shall its waters be. Sweeter yet shall blow its breezes on the day that sets us free. For that day we must all labor, though we die before it break. Cows and horses, geese and turkeys, all must toil for freedom's sake. Peace of England, oh peace of Ireland, peace of every London clime. Hearken well and spread my tidings of the golden future time. Okay, thank you guys. The singing of this song threw the animals into the wildest excitement. You guys, almost before Major had reached the end, they had begun singing it for themselves. Even the stupidest of them had already picked up the tune and a few of the words. And as for the clever ones, such as the pigs and dogs, they had the entire song by heart within a few minutes. Thank you, Betty. And then, after a few preliminary tries, the whole farm burst out into Beasts of England in tremendous unison. The cows loved it, the dogs whined it, the sheep bleated it, the horses whinnied it, and the ducks quacked it. They were so delighted with the song that they sang it right through 5 times in succession and might have continued singing it all night long if they had not been interrupted. Nose rings, right? Unfortunately, the uproar awoke Mr. Jones, who sprang out of bed, making sure that there was a fox in the yard. He seized the gun which always stood in the corner of his bedroom and let fly a charge of number 6 shot into the darkness. That's water. The pellets buried themselves in the wall of the barn, and the meeting broke up hurriedly. Everyone fled to his own sleeping place. The birds jumped on their perches. The animals settled down in the straw, and the whole farm was asleep in a moment. And that was the very beginning of George Orwell. In the next chapter, 3 nights later, old Major died peacefully in his sleep. His body was buried at the foot of the orchard. Women will never struggle. Celestica, stop being jealous of people. Come on, dude, really. Just be yourself. Focus on yourself. Focus on how you can make the world a better place instead of being eternally worried that somebody else might have something more than you do. I believe that that is a problem in this world. Jealousy. Looking at other people and coveting what they have. Just like the love of money is the root of all evil. So, Christ is Lord. Tricky. I totally agree. All right, you guys, I hope I gave you some food for thought. I was going to read you a little bit of Celestica. Sounds a little dangerous, actually. When you hate people so much because you hate yourself, you might be dangerous. So I suggest that you seek help for your jealousy and your thoughts of inequality with the whole race of people, the female race. That's a problem. It's a problem for all of us. It's not the way to be. So please seek help for yourself. And for the stalker, also seek help for yourself. Stop worrying about what other people are doing. Focus on yourself and how you can be a better person. Animosity is very dangerous. Okay, there was something else I wanted to tell you guys about before I go. Well, I do want to remind you that tonight is Jazz Jam Night with Janetta's Vendetta. So we will be on the scene after 8 p.m. and doing a live show with some of the greatest jazz musicians in South Florida, maybe even in the world. Happiness comes from within. Prejudice and judgment is your problem, not ours. That's so true, Deb. So true. We feel sorry for people who have so much animosity and angst and jealousy of others. It can't possibly be good for you. And it's not good for us either because you might be dangerous. Just saying. I think I said that before. Anyway, I know what I wanted to do. I did want to read some of the article that I wrote because it was fascinating to talk to George Orwell's son. And I'm going to read to you what he told me. This is super, super interesting. All right, this is an article I wrote in 2017. Yeah, exactly. So what if you think women have it easier? The grass is always greener, right? And what are you going to do to change it anyway? Kill all the women? Mhm. Exactly, Deb. But hey, thanks for participating. Yeah, tonight's going to be great too. Okay, so this is an article I wrote for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. What would the late George Orwell say about what's been happening in U.S. politics today and the renewed interest in his famous novel, 1984? By the way, I wrote this nearly 10 years ago. Keep that in mind. Speculation is futile, said the author's son, Richard Blair, who was just 5 years old when 1984 was published in 1949. But his great mantra was, if freedom means anything, it is the right to say something that other people do not want to hear. It's very true, and this is one of the problems today. No, this is an article that I wrote, Jamie. This was a copy of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, and this is my article that appeared in it. You know, sometimes people come on the Beach Report and they want to know who I am. Well, I am a journalist. I've been a journalist since I graduated from the Scripps School of Journalism in 1987 from Ohio University. And I will be including this. This is actually one of the first articles of a book that I've been working on for years and years, for almost 10 years. This was the first one where I wanted to write about famous people's children. The children, not famous people, the children of famous writers, as I am a writer, and children of famous writers, ooh, do they have stories to tell. And I think that Richard Blair's story is extremely interesting, as you are about to hear. Some people don't want to hear about controversial subjects, and now you have college students protesting speakers if the speaker disagrees with what they want to say. Yeah, and kill them. Rioting in an effort to persuade the authorities not to let them lecture, he said, referring to Milo Yiannopoulos' protest at University of California, Berkeley, during a recent Skype interview from his home in the United Kingdom. That's me. I talked to Richard Blair. He was in England. I was in America. I think that's a pretty sad world. If you disagree, argue in a cogent manner. Otherwise, agree to disagree. But don't protest with a brick in your hand. Shouting others down is not freedom. Mr. Blair, he was 72 when I wrote this article, so he's now in his 80s. Will be speaking and signing his father's books at the Cranberry Barnes & Noble at noon on Saturday. Anyway, this was an event by Prime Stage Theater at the New Hazlitt Theater. The production, they did actually a production of 1984. And the people who run Prime Stage Theater were really great sources of mine when I was writing for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette and other publications in Pittsburgh. These guys had their fingers on the pulse of everything. Wayne Brenda, so cool. This guy is great. Prime Stage's co-founder and artistic director recently marveled that it was 2 years ago when he decided to produce Orwell's prescient novel for the nonprofit theater company's 20th season of presenting stage plays based on literary works for people of all ages. Yes, exactly, Jamie. In just the past month, sales of the novel that depicts a dystopian society where critical thought is suppressed under a totalitarian government have soared, as many people believe it eerily mirrors today's political landscape, and has gotten even more. My timing couldn't have been better, Mr. Brenda said, noting that his idea to invite Mr. Blair, George Orwell's real name was Eric Arthur Blair, came about when he learned of the Orwell Society. In England is amazing. He's not just maintaining the legacy of his father, he's also working with school kids and providing an educational component. The society was founded in 2010 after a memoir by a childhood friend about Orwell's early years was updated and spurred new interest in the famed author. Upon receiving Mr. Brenda's invitation, Mr. Blair said, "I was intrigued being invited and thought, well, why not? I'm very much looking forward to visiting Pittsburgh and seeing what an American production of 1984 would be like. We've had several productions in the UK, and they all go extremely well. In fact, the last one was remarkably successful and is going to Australia. George Orwell, never visited the United States. He died in 1950, shortly after the novel was published. Mr. Brenda approached Jennifer Wilkinson Daniel, their community business development manager at the Cranberry Barnes and Noble bookstore, about a book signing before the play. She jumped at the opportunity. It's an absolute honor to have him here, she said, noting that sales of Orwell books have risen sharply in the past few weeks, and the story anticipates a large turnout. We have quite a few copies of Orwell books on hand, and we can accommodate hundreds of people here. We've done it before. We're ready for it. Okay, the percentage of the book sale, blah, blah, blah. Now retired from farming and tractor sales, Mr. Blair, George Orwell's adopted son, spends most of his time working with the Orwell Society, overseeing the Orwell Awards and youth prizes for literature and journalism. See you later, Donna. The money that pays for those awards comes from the royalties of my father's career. We use the awards to encourage youngsters to think for themselves and to write proper essays, said Mr. Blair, hinting at further collaboration with Pittsburgh students. My father's ideal was to make political writing into an art. Following the Barnes and Noble event, he was going to visit, whatever. Okay, so what is not in this article that I interviewed George Orwell's son about was the fact that, yes, George Orwell died when Richard Blair was only 5 years old, but Richard Blair was an adopted child. George Orwell and his wife adopted Richard, and shortly after the baby came into the family, the mother died. So he was actually raised by George Orwell just for those first 5 years of his life until George Orwell himself passed away. And Richard Blair has lived his entire life. I believe he was raised by George Orwell's sister. So raised by his aunt in an adopted family, and carrying on the legacy of the man who gave him the name Richard Blair. Really, really interesting. So I need to get to work on that book as well. It's always a lot. You know, it's so much easier for me to be a newspaper writer, journalist, because I could put those articles out lickety-split, and I had to because I had a deadline. With books, it's a little bit more difficult. But I love books because of the permanency of books. I don't know where this actual article is, the newspaper version of it, but like the National Archives, it's now been digitized. So I did it myself. You can find this article actually on the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette website. If you do look for it, you just have to use the keywords George Orwell and my former writing name, Jill Cohen, which was my ex-husband in Switzerland, by the way. He used the husband's name before the wife's. Anyway, now I'm just Jill Cohen, but I used to write under Jill Cohen. If there are any articles you want to seek out from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette and beyond, I have been prolific in my career as a journalist. All right, you guys, I am a little bit talked out right now. My throat is getting dry, and it is time to do other things with my day, like work on some of these books. So I will see you guys on the next Beach Report. And I want to say ciao for now. Tonight, don't forget, after 8 p.m., tune in. If you don't get the notification, you want to look for it. But we will be at the Sunday Supper Club's speakeasy called Bar Betty, and have a great time with the Jazz Jam, which is an amazing show. You never know what you're going to see, because it is like, it's open mic night, actually, and it's really cool. All right, you guys. I hope that I gave you a lot of food for thought, and you might want to think about books like Animal Farm and 1984, and maybe we can learn something from reading things like that. If it was a roadmap for what was going to happen, maybe there's a way to get out of it. We have to find a way out of it. So I hope that everybody can get along with everybody else. Remember, we're the people, we're the animals. Yeah, the animals are against the humans, but we are the animals. That's right. You'll see me with Janetta later. Can't wait to see my girl. So we're going to have a great time tonight. All right, you guys. Ciao for now. And thank you again for your rubies. I greatly appreciate it. And if you consider joining my members club, we have a great time there too. All right, you guys.